Hoping it's going to say aye. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Hello and welcome to a very special video from the Rangers Review. I'm delighted to join Joel Sked of the Scotsman, of TV's A View from the Terrace, and of course the Terrace podcast, as well as being a die-hard Jambo. Joel, is that a fair assessment of your leanings?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
I don't know if I'm getting you in trouble with the Evening Times readers by saying that, but I think it's done now, so apologies if I have.
It's not a secret.
I want to just wanted to get you on because I thought there was no one better to talk about John Souttar. This is a guy that's obviously come in to Rangers just in the last few days. Scotland international, 25 years old, loads of opportunity to grow, I think. But I thought I would come to someone who really knows what they're talking about, who's watched them week in, week out for the last few years. So first of all, I'll just throw to you, what kind of a player are Rangers getting here?
I think over the last, I would go as far as saying if they're getting someone who's got the potential to be the complete defender. Look at the last, what would I say? So last 12 to 15 months, because we go back to February 2020 when Hearts beat Rangers in the Scottish Cup. That he suffered a serious injury, another kind of, I think it was the Achilles again. That was him out until the summer, and of course COVID came, and then he was coming back. He was doing his rehab in the summer, and then it went again. And you're just thinking, oh no, that's. You could even, the speculation was that could be a season, not a season ruiner, a career ender. Yeah. He's had another long-term injury, and then when he's coming back from one of his other long-term injuries, he has got another long-term injury, and it just can just seem to never rain but pour for John Souttar, and he just wondered, is it ever going to happen for him? Is he ever going to be able to be that consistent, reliable defender, injury-wise, that you want your defenders to be available, especially someone as good as John Souttar? Even then, there's still doubts about maybe his the defensive side of the game. There's no doubt about him on the ball, but then he came back for the final few games of the Championship season, and he looked absolutely fine. He looked so good, which is, you're kind of thinking, he just had 2 long-term injuries, and he just came back and he just stepped in the team. Okay, it's a Championship, so it's a level, certainly a level below him, but he just looked so at ease, which goes against having been missed so much football. And then scored against Celtic at the start of this season, scored the winner, and we're speaking to him after the game, and he spoke about the mental side of getting the injury, then the injury on top of the other injury on his rehab, and how mentally tough that was, but also the support network he had around him, just his family, but also the club. Like a couple of sports science says, right, kind of let it sink in, but this is what we're going to do to make you a better player while you are out for numerous months again. And he worked on his upper body, and you could see that. You can see the standing, you can see that on the pitch, and you can see it standing next to him. Everyone thinks of John Souttar. He made his debut at 16, and there's always been the perception that he's quite a soft. He's soft. He can be bullied. But you look at him now, and he's a man. His shoulders just seem broader. His biceps, his arms were just bigger. He just looked like a real athlete. And he did say that within his injury, during his time off, he worked on that physicality. And he said that he no longer feels like he can get bullied. He said that after the Celtic game, he no longer gets bullied. And you can just really see that from the season he's had. Been a lot said from Hearts fans about Stephen Kingsley. He's probably been our most consistent outfield player. And Craig Halkett has probably been our most improved player in the squad. But I think John Souttar's almost kind of left out, but also because he signed a pre-contract with Rangers, I think it had dimmed the view within amongst Hearts fans. But he was, in terms of like the heights he reached, he was definitely the best. You see him in the Scottish Cup final. The Scottish Cup final was Hearts' best player, and you've seen in that everything about his game, he reads the game really well. Going back to no longer gets bullied. He's physically developed. He's better in the air. I think it was looked. He's top 10, I think, in the Premiership for the past season in terms of the aerial duel success rate. I think that's the first time he's been in the top 10 in his career. And this season he's played as part of a back three and a back four as well, and he's looked really comfortable in both. Surprised, kind of surprised with Goldson signing a new deal, because I just looked at Souttar as the natural replacement for him.
We all did.
Souttar has that ability to step out of defence and hit those booming switches of play. And so, yeah, I'm curious to see how he fits in at Rangers now. But Rangers are getting a really, really good player who I think has still levels to reach, but can be the complete defender, complete package.
Yeah, well, you touch on a great point there, which is where he's actually going to play, because it's pretty obvious Connor Goldson's a bit of an iron man, plays like 55, 60 games a season if Rangers are fortunate enough to get to the latter stages of the tournaments, and obviously plays on the right side of a 4 or the right side of a 3. So you start to wonder, have you seen John Souttar play on the left of a 4? Because that looks like where he will play.
Yeah, I don't think because he's always played with Berra. I'm just trying to think where he's played with Halkett. Maybe he has played as the left of a back. Not even that. I think Halkett played left of a back 4 when they played together. Just because you look at the angles that you want Souttar on the ball at, you don't want him on the left hand side where he's having to kind of chop onto his right, and then. Just it's unnatural. It's natural for him to step out and hit from right to left. That's and Hearts have got a lot of success for that, or him just stepping in and driving forward. Could he play left? Yeah, but I think you'd lose a wee bit on the ball with Souttar. But again, it's balanced out. Goldson can do that as well. So he can play left, but you won't get the best out of him.
Yeah, of course, you mentioned the fact he can play in a back 3, and Giovanni van Bronckhorst has switched between a 3 and a 4, especially in Europe, with a fair bit of regularity. I suppose one of the good things about Souttar is that he's so comfortable on that right side. I mean, I've not seen him play that position for Hearts too often, but I know for Scotland, whenever he's slotted in there, he's always looked really, really comfortable. And as you say, you've got that ability just to come out with the ball and look absolutely comfortable on it.
Yeah, it's another aspect of as well that I was really impressed with is defending when he's pulled out wide in the back 3. So he's had Michael Smith ahead of him early on in the season, and Nathaniel Atkinson towards kind of a few times towards the end before he Souttar got an injury at Dundee United. But he is so comfortable in wide areas. It's like he's. I think if he played a right back a few times for Dundee United when he was a teenager, perhaps he did. But there's some players who the first one that comes to my head was Dundee United. Ross Graham at Dundee United, who plays on the left of a back 3. He really struggles when he gets pulled out on the left hand side wide areas, whereas Souttar is really comfortable in there. The big thing about him is there's no hesitancy within his defending anymore. He reads the game really well, but then when he goes to engage an opponent, he'll do it 100%, and he'll do it with real aggression. And he very, very rarely miss times to tackle. When he does, it's a sight to see.
Yeah, Joel, the first time I saw John Souttar play was for Dundee United against Hearts at Tannadice. I was there with a pal who's a big Dundee United fan. I was up visiting him in Dundee, and he dragged me along to the game. You'll remember it was a 4-1 win for Dundee United. Hearts were going through a really tough time. I think Gary Lott was the manager, and it was the sort of season where you had points deduction. That game, it was Dundee United were absolutely insane. It was Andy Robertson on the left. You had Gary Mackay-Stephen up front. You had Armstrong in the middle, Souttar at the back, and Ryan Gauld pulling the strings in a sort of number 10 position. But that day, I think John Souttar was 17, and he was like a young Alan Hansen, just strolling about, knocking the ball long, taking it down, absolutely comfortable in everything he was doing, and just looked a very different kind of player. The question that I've got is, arguably, given the talent he had at 17, he's not really kicked on to the place that you would have thought. I mean, I would have thought he was destined from the Premier League, not Rangers, and certainly not 8 years down the line. Do you think he's still got the scope to actually make that kind of leap within his game, or make a substantial leap in his game now, if he can remain injury free?
I believe so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's really, the reason I say I think so is because of the adversity he has had. Not just the countless injuries. I'm trying to think how many long term it's been at Hearts. At least 4. He's had at least 4 long term injuries, maybe 5 that I've kept him out for a chunky period. So he's came back from that adversity. He's came back from. He is a defender who has been doubted, especially doubted by fans of other teams who've seen him at Dundee United. You're kind of waiting for him to just really kick on, and I think it took him a wee bit to get that build of a centre back. He never really had it at Dundee United, and I don't think it ended well at Tannadice. But over the last couple of seasons, I've just seen massive improvements in John Souttar. And go back to it, maybe he's not quite got to the reliable stage of being a Connor Goldson who can play between 50 and 60 games a season, but in terms of reliability, when he does play, that's 100% there. The physical, just because you kind of just look at the mental aspects there, the technical aspects there, and now the physical aspects there. He's not slow either. I thought if it wasn't for the fact he had a young family and a business in Scotland, I think he probably would have gone to Europe. I think he would have got a move. Would have looked to move to Europe, but I see it as a good step for him because I still see him as being able to make that step into the Premier League. And I think at Hearts, I don't think he was going to get that move from Hearts to the Premier League. I think he was going to have to go, if he was going to England, he would have to go to the Championship. And I think he would be fine in the Championship. I rate him better than Scott McKenna, but I do think that's probably it's probably a better step for him to go to Rangers, and if he's playing, especially if he's playing Champions League football, gets that better, but probably gets more exposure, and then to make that move into the Premier League. I wouldn't say it would go a good season next season. He go to Premier League, it'd probably be 2-3 years, and he's only 25. He's played a hell of a lot of games, and he's missed actually a hell of a lot of games as well. So I still think he's not quite yet in his prime.
Yeah, because he's got a coffee shop business, doesn't he? Just you mentioning that he's got business interests. I remember, maybe you that wrote the piece, I remember reading a piece about him starting up a coffee shop in Arbroath or something like that. Is that right?
He's got, so it would be in Alan Temple. I think it was Alan Temple. He got a piece. He's got a business, I think it's around Brecon or near Brecon. I think he belongs. So I think it's him, from what I remember, it's him, his now wife, and Ewan Spark, I think, who is another former Dundee United youth player. He's signed for someone recently, but I can't remember who. So yeah, Souttar's always been, certainly the last few years, big into coffee. I think there was a big kind of coffee culture club at Hearts at one point. Him and Stephen Naismith, anyway, certainly bonded over their love of coffee.
Yes, players now, whenever you speak to them, they're always talking about coffee and getting specific coffee machines in their kitchen and just the right blend of beans and all that. It's quite insane when back in the day, if you go back 20 years, they were more obsessed with whether or not they could get a pint of Tennent's or a pint of Foster's. Things changed somewhat as time goes on. In terms of his leadership qualities, Joel, you've been very good in sort of explaining the mental strength that he's shown over his time at Hearts, but he's also part of the leadership group in there. You know, he's an experienced guy who's an important part of the dressing room. In terms of what he brings to Rangers, do you think he'll come in as kind of one of the guys who's able to come in and hit the ground running and be an influence on the younger players? Do you think he's one that will need a bit of time to settle? What kind of personality is he? Is he outgoing? Is he?
No, I think personality-wise, again, he's still, I think there's still a perception, assumption. You look at John Souttar, you just see him as this young guy, just because he broke into the Scottish so early, but I don't think that's the case. I think he's a really popular figure at Hearts, a really popular figure. I think he's a lot of players looked up to him. No, I don't think he'll take any time to settle at Ibrox. I think he's now a Scotland international. He knows the league outside and in, and he's a confident. He'll speak on the pitch. I remember being up at Cove game, and so Hearts played Cove in the League Cup group stages in 2018, and it was one of Zlamal's, the goalkeeper's first games, and Zlamal was really like he just kept on talking, and Souttar just had to turn around and tell him to shut the expletive up, because I think he was getting on his nerves. So he won't be scared to. He won't be quiet. I think he won't be timid. He'll go in there and he'll be demanding of other players, and I think he'll accept. He'll certainly have discussions with teammates. Rangers are not signing someone who will kind of shy away from playing in that atmosphere. Don't think he'll shy away in having his voice heard within the dressing room.
Yeah. In terms of set pieces, you mentioned his goal against Celtic at the start of the season. Terrific header. And he has scored the odd goal throughout his career. Now, he'll probably get more opportunities at Rangers than he ever has before, because of the ball dominance of the team, because there's a lot more free kicks that Rangers get than probably Hearts get. So he's in a position where he can maybe get 5, 6, 7 goals. Is that what he's capable of?
Yeah, I don't. He is. I've never really seen him as someone who'll score too regularly for us. So if I was putting a bet on and I was looking for a defender to score, I'd probably edge towards Kingsley or Halkett before him. But yeah, you mentioned that ball dominance. I actually think he's, depending on how Rangers play, the freedom he gets. I think he could score 1 or 2 from open play as well, because so he scored against Celtic, and then there was another goal he scored this season. I can't remember who it was against, but it was a volley and a half volley, and he's got superb technique. So he's someone, I think, if you give him space, he could be a danger with the ball at his feet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Joel, I'm going to let you go. One last question I'm going to ask you, which is just overall, from a Rangers point of view, and I know I'm putting you in a dodgy position thinking from a Rangers point of view, but would you be excited about this as a deal if you were looking at this? You think Ross Wilson has done a smart deal here, getting John Souttar tied up for this length of time on a free transfer?
Oh, 100%, because it's I was going to say risk-free. It's not with Souttar. It's not exactly risk-free, just because if he's injury past. But you're signing someone who, like I would just reiterate, we said, like he's got technical qualities, mental qualities, now the physical qualities, and he's got so much experience in this league that you could just drop him into the Rangers starting 11 first game of the season, and he'll be absolutely fine. So it was an absolute no-brainer.
Okay, Joe, thanks very much for joining me on this Rangers Review video. It's been a pleasure to have you, and there's loads of interesting things to get our teeth into there. So thanks for dropping in, and